Good morning from the frozen tundra of the Texas states where things look like the Arctic. Let me tell you, if you want some Iceland, as Donald Trump would call it, it's right down here today. We have been covered with snow and sleet and rain. It was a beautiful sight to watch last night as it came down. But I hear you've stormed out of Virginia or you've stormed out of home looking for safe shelter during the storm. How's it going?
It's fine. We're in a hotel, hence my lovely 1970s
These decor style.
background. Yeah, but no, we're doing fine. Jim, it's funny. He said he wanted Greenland, which is a cold place. I didn't know he was going to get it so quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems to be everywhere.
Well, he was switching it in and out at a speech the other day. You got to deal with Iceland. He's going to do this with Iceland. I'm like, and
Now,
then what
Jim,
your face comes on and says, "Oh, no, he called Greenland just a big chunk of ice. That's what he meant." I'm like,
now,
wow, you
Jim,
people are
Jim,
crazy.
Jim. I got to call. I got to call a spade a spade. You're exhibiting Trump derangement syndrome there.
Oh, I thought it was President Trump's stress disorder. All right, look, we've spent plenty of time talking about passports, exotic places, and the best to get lost.
Mostly because Jim actually got us lost half the time.
Hey, it's called unplanned exploration. But look, eventually every traveler has to hit the baggage claim. And that's usually where the fun ends and reality hits you smack in the face.
I'm Chuck Longerbeam.
And I'm Jim Howe. We're both staring 60 in the face, and we've realized that the most important journey isn't across the ocean. It's the one where you finally stop worrying about who you're offending and start speaking your truth.
We're unpacking more than just suitcases now. We're talking about the big pivots, reinventing your life and your career at an age when society thinks we should just be quiet and pick up pickleball.
Not happening, Chuck. And we're going to talk about this country. But we're done with this left versus right, blue versus red food fight. It's exhausting. We're going to talk about right versus wrong.
Basically, we're applying common sense to a world that seems to have run out of it. We're keeping it authentic, unfiltered, and knowing us, probably a little bit loud.
Hey, we're two guys who have seen enough to have an opinion, and we're finally sharing it. No filters, no labels, just real talk.
The bags are on the carousel, and let's be honest, half of them are probably lost. Are you ready to claim what's yours?
Let's get this journey started. First,
It don't go that fast. It don't go that fast.
I was saying it isn't going by fast enough right now. So it's been an interesting week. We pushed our recording time at day due to the threats of snowmageddon here in the plains and the South. And it sort of delivered it sort of didn't. I don't remember when I made my decision to move to Texas that there was a snow discussion or clause. I thought it was moving to a warmer, drier state. And every year I have been here, there's been some kind of winter event, including the great one of 2022, whenever we had the big freeze out where, everybody died and everything blew up in Texas. Sadly, it didn't take, Governor Abbott or Ted Cruz out because Ted was already out on a plane that day. So
as he is again. Did you see
as
that?
he is, yes.
He bolted
And it
again.
had nothing to do with the coming weather. I mean, that was my
No,
favorite
no,
line.
complete
Talk
coincidence.
about knowing how to do your PR. Get out in front of it, because I actually had laughed that day as I was out in my yard, looked up, I saw this private jet leaving our airport. I thought, I wonder if Ted's staying in town. Like those things come into your head,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
But anyway, go ahead. Yeah, we can talk about
it's
Ted
been an
Cruz, but
interesting
I'm not.
week. Well, I mean, we pushed our episode a day. If we hadn't, we wouldn't have a very big topic to talk about today, which I think is really key. And I'm gonna be honest, folks, this is our opinion. This is our thoughts. This and a dollar, probably about $4 will have to get you a cup of coffee at Starbucks, right? These days it's not cheap enough. I don't know where the tariffs and inflation have gone, but this is our opinion. So, don't make decisions, don't invest based on this. But this was a bad week for ICE and for the party. Another shooting less than a week out. An innocent man who, from all accounts, and I've seen two different video shots. One where it's kind of hard to tell what went on because all the ICE agents are 7 or 10 guys taking one down. That says a lot. And then the second one being where he's sort of taunting them in the street and they beat him up and bully him, throw him to the ground, and then they shoot him 7 times. I'm going to tell you what, a cop will shoot you once. They don't want to shoot you twice. If you're shooting someone 7 times, you've got the problem, not them. You're causing a stir. You're doing something. You have something at stake. And I believe this is my concern is that our ICE is turning into a modern day Stasi or Gestapo or whatever you want to call them.
Well, yeah, and let's do this for a minute. I'm not. I mean, I I used the term fascist last week, and that angered some people, and so be it. I stand by the textbook definition of it. But I'm going to stop. And no offense to you, Jim, I'm not going to use Nazi terms anymore.
Okay,
I
that's
think
fair.
no. I think it's pertinent, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to call them what I truly believe they are, which is what the Gestapo and the Stasi was, which is an armed group of thugs who
Yeah.
unfortunately have the government's protection. And so you said a mouthful. God, let's dissect this little bits at a time. No, I mean that with love. First of all, you're right. I was thinking about this exact. It's funny you and I are on the same page. I was thinking about this exact thing last night. So my wife and I are in a hotel room. We ran from the storm. So I was telling Jim earlier. Really, there's only 3 things to do: nap, read a book, and watch TV. I'm not good at napping, and so I watched a lot of TV. And I've seen the video, and again, this the sad part about this is there's never going to be a perfect video. There's never going to be a perfect. We're not living in Europe or someplace like that where they have CCTV everywhere, so there's not going to be a perfect angle, and people can talk about it. And Jim and I were talking about the Facebook feed and all that, and I have friends on the right who were like, you mess around, you shouldn't have. You shouldn't have pulled a gun, and it's like I don't see a gun. I don't see a. I see him holding a camera, but that's another story. But you're right. I was thinking about this last night. Whenever I've been pulled over in my life, and let me be very clear, I've never been arrested. I've never done any time. I'm not that guy. But I've been pulled over because I have a propensity to have a lead foot, and I've been pulled over. And years and years and years ago, I was pulled over, and evidently I had a fairly generic car, and evidently there was a white guy who had done something bad in a car that looked very much like mine. So I was pulled over, and the police officer sat behind me for what seemed like an hour and a half. I'm sure it was 5 minutes, but he just sat there. And normally they get out, they put their hat on. In Virginia, we have state troopers. They put their hat on, they do the whole thing. But he sat there, and he sat there, and then another police car pulled in front of me, and another one pulled in front of him, and I was just like, "What the hell is this?" So 4 of them got out, and they tactically surrounded my car, and I rolled down the window, and the guy had his hand on his gun, but he didn't pull it. And he said, "Sir, can I see, where you going?" And I'm like, I was being jovial. I'm like, is this what happens when you speed now? And he's like, "Well, sir, a car very much like this with your description, yada, yada, yada." So I handed him my driver's license and my registration, and they stood there and they kind of peeked in my car, which is fine. They did the whole thing. And then the guy came back and he goes, "Sir, we're sorry for the misunderstanding. Your vehicle and your stature or your hair color and all that kind of fits somebody who had done something that we're looking for. Obviously not you. We're not going to give you a ticket. You have a nice day." And I remember thinking, okay, 3 police cars, 6 cops. It seemed like a lot, but in that situation, it's like, okay, nobody got out of hand.
And that was
Nobody
good
got
fair policing. They
right.
didn't do anything to rough you up
Well,
or
that's what I
make
said.
you have to be defending
They
yourself.
didn't make me get out of the car. That's what I'm saying. There was good policing, and in my mind, I'm like, Jesus, I was doing 10 miles over. Like, what is this? But then once I realized what they were talking about, I was like, okay, that was fair policing. What I see in a video, take all politics out of it. I don't care if you think he had a gun, didn't have a gun, whatever. What I see in the video is a ICE agent or a police officer, you can't tell anymore because they're all masked and they're all wearing all the tactical gear, pepper sprays this dude within inches of his face. And then, like you said, 6, 7 of them bodily take him to the ground. No police officers would ever do that unless you were a direct threat. And by that, I mean maybe had really brandishing a gun, maybe you just shot
I
somebody,
mean, the
maybe you're
last
running.
time we saw a police force do that was George Floyd, and
Right,
that was a police force, right?
right,
I think
right.
they learned their lesson during those times to sort of not do those things,
They did. And you said something very important is this administration keeps spinning it as if this is a more or less law enforcement activity. They're going after bad people who are here illegally. Okay, fine. First of all, I think that's whatever, but fine. That's not what we're seeing. We're seeing them beat the shit out of, at the minimum, American citizens. And then yeah, they shot him, and I've heard numbers between 7 and 10 times they shot this dude. And he's laying prone, pepper sprayed. And if you look at it, and they can say what they want about he approached him with a gun, he's not. He absolutely has a phone in his hand, and they pushed a woman to the ground, which again, no cop does. No cop just walks up. Well, it's
No,
not usual policing just be like, "Get out of my way," and push her to the ground. He says, I can't hear him, but you get the vibe. He's saying, "What the fuck?" Or, "What are you doing, man?" Or she's just standing here. Next thing you know, he's on the ground, and you see the guy pull his gun and pop, 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 pop. And then what's really interesting to me, if you watch the video all the way through, after they shoot him, they scatter. They scatter like cockroaches because I think they realized at that moment, we messed up. And the police don't do that. And what I think we're seeing is a group of horribly undertrained people I know you've seen the reports where half of them wash out. They're actively recruiting guys who play military video games and maybe didn't get in the military. And somebody said something interesting the other day, and I don't know if it's true, but it sounded very plausible. He said, you notice you don't hear anything from the Proud Boys or the Oath Keepers anymore. It's because most of them joined ICE. And I don't know if it's true or not. I don't know, but it does seem more than coincidental. But you're right.
That's not as important as the fact that there are a number of people getting into ICE who lack the training to do proper law enforcement and policing. And a lot of them, I think there's a lot of good intention people start in something like this, but there's also a lot of radicalized folks who go out and say, I'm going to go do something because I want to do something. I want to make a difference. And they're out there taking their God Trump's word to go,
Well, the other thing is too, right? So Jim and I decide, I know we're old farts and they wouldn't take us, but Jim and I decide to become police officers right now. I don't know how it is in Texas. We have county police officers, we have county sheriffs. So I decide I want to be a sheriff's deputy, right? So I go and I apply, they do my background check, then I go through a police academy. And it varies. Sometimes it's 6 weeks, sometimes it's 8 weeks, whatever it is. But I go through a police academy. I take psychological profiling. They do the due diligence, with the idea being is we get through 8 weeks and they look at Jim and I and they go, nah, these guys want to hurt people. These guys are not doing this for the right reason. These guys are a little off. Sorry, you're not a police officer. We're not seeing that with ICE. We're seeing them being fast tracked, and they are actively, and this is on the DHS website, folks. This is not my opinion. Look it up. They are actively looking for people who are basically obsessed with the military and all the things the military does. And then they're giving them really quick substandard training and putting them on the streets and say, I want you, and the other thing is, we want you to arrest 3,000 people a day. The right are the ones that are obsessed with the left doing quotas, But now we have quotas. You got to arrest 3,000 people a day. Well, what if there aren't 3,000 people a day to arrest? Well, guess what? Then you're throwing American citizens to the ground. You're pulling old Asian men out of the shower in a towel in the freezing cold, and then going, "Oops, sorry." Or you're shooting women in the face who are in their car who just, I don't care how many times you look at the video, she's trying to drive away, and you can argue, well, she was fleeing the scene of a crime, and DOJ regulations specifically say you don't shoot in a moving car unless you absolutely have no other option. And they're like, boy, that guy stepped out of the way really quickly. Well, guess what? If you can step out of the way really quickly, then your life is not immediately in danger.
But if you're a big Hollywood, cop blockbuster fan, this is what they do in the movies. This is what your propaganda teaches you, right?
Thank you.
And it was this week, something buzzed through. My sister popped a note over to me and she's like, do you remember this movie when we were in elementary school? And the movie was called The Wave. So 1 hour long. It was played in a lot of schools. And I'll put a link in the description when we post this. It's it being a 70s film explaining like what happens when you get into a group mindset. It would be really good for folks to watch this again now in 2020s to see what it says, because it's an experiment that was literally really done in California schools. And the outcomes are as expected, and a real timely tale to what's happening right now. And I think I am going to put a link in this because I posted it on my Facebook feed. Nobody responded, which really surprised me, because I can't imagine nobody else saw that but my sister and I. But then again, we went to private school. We were sort of special,
Well, it's funny you said that, because I went to private school from 1st to 8th grade as well, and I've never heard of it. So I'm interested.
I've looked for it for years, trying to justify that I had seen it. So it finally showed up on YouTube. I was like, oh my God. And I sat here and watched it. It's only 44 minutes long. And I I remember every bit of that. Boy, is that a scary thing to watch right now.
That's what propaganda does.
Propaganda is a very big thing to think about. When I think about modern day propaganda, we have constantly pointed the finger at Korea and said everything you do is propaganda. The things we see are what they want us to see.
Right.
Lovely costuming, people dancing, women in beautiful clothes, guys handsome, a good-looking country. And then what's behind the scenes is very different, right? I would argue that we're not seeing much different here in the United States. What we see on the screen, movie or theater, is often propaganda for us. It's how we look, how we want to be seen, how we appear. The talking heads always look a certain way, right? They always do a certain thing. TV shows sometimes forecast what's going to come down the road. And so I have found myself often thinking the biggest propaganda machine we have is Hollywood. And when Hollywood doesn't like the current agenda, they'll portray the opposite, right?
Right.
And so And I'm not doing this I'm not pointing fingers. I'm just finding it interesting because your brain works in the way of absorbing everything around you. And it's hearing and seeing things you're not even aware that you're hearing and seeing. So, you're not focused on it, but you're being plugged with information.
Well, and it's interesting you say that because you talk about propaganda and going back to police versus ICE and
Yes.
no. Is that a fair comparison? I don't know, but I'll make it a fair comparison because this administration keeps saying, Kristi Noem keeps saying, this is a police action because we're getting really horrible people off the streets. Not police action. They didn't say that. Sorry. This is a policing effort to police action means something completely different, but to get these horrible, people off the street. Okay. So that's their words. So I feel like it's fair to talk about ICE versus police. And it's just like you said. So if a cop shoots somebody, and let's say it is the most fair self-defense shooting on the planet. Let's say, I don't care how liberal you are, I don't care. You look at let's say it's a straight on high quality video and you look at it and you're like, dude was running across the street firing at a police officer. The police officer pulled his gun and killed this person. Absolute, the cop didn't have any place. Absolute most truest self-defense video on the planet. When the police do their press conference, they say, it appears, and we are doing a full investigation. That's what they say. Kristi Noem, and this goes back to Roy Cohn. If you've ever read about Roy Cohn, if you haven't, folks, take 5 minutes and read about Roy Cohn, and you will understand why Donald Trump is the way he is. Roy Cohn's whole thing was deny or double down, and this administration is all about doubling down until they beat you over the head with it, till you finally either say, okay, I believe it, or fine, I don't want to argue anymore. And if you don't believe that, look back at the clip where the reporter is with the guy with the MS with the tattoos, Brego Garcia, I think is the name, and then some guy put MS-13 in New Times Roman above it, and Trump is, why won't you just agree with me? What it says MS-13. He's like, that's fake. No, it's not. Why won't you agree with me? So it's that double down, beat people up. But that's the thing. Kristi Noem again came out within 10 minutes of the shooting. She's nowhere near there. She doesn't have any better video than we does. Excuse me, and said he had a gun with multiple magazines, he was going to massacre ICE agents, and he was a domestic terrorist.
Yeah.
Take a beat.
And then, it doesn't take you 2 seconds to go look on Facebook and see who the guy was.
Right. Take a pause. Yeah. Right. Take a beat and come back a pause and wait. This guy was a trauma, or was a nurse at the VA, had no criminal record. And where are my Second Amendment people on the right? He legally had a gun.
Yeah.
He had a concealed permit, and he legally had a gun. Aren't we supposed to? Isn't that okay? So Kyle Rittenhouse had a gun and killed people. Brought a loaded gun to a protest and killed people and got off because that was his Second Amendment right. Where's this guy's Second Amendment right? And at no time in this video do you or I or anybody with a reasonable opinion see him pull a gun. So I don't care. So where the Second Amendment people were like, I should be able to be. And Trump, I don't know if you saw this. Trump on True Social either last night or this morning said, people shouldn't be armed on the street when ICE is around. It's like, whoa. That's exactly opposite of what the Second Amendment people say. So that's what bothers me is the immediate propaganda of doubling down and saying our guy didn't do anything wrong. It's like, you guys don't have any more information than we do.
The rules get split. Those who are allowed to follow them and those who must follow them.
Correct. Well, and the first shooting, and I can't remember, Cook is her name Cook? I'm sorry if I got that wrong. I with all due respect to her memory and her. But J.D. Vance came out and said, he has complete immunity. It's like, what? Nobody has complete immunity in any walk of life. Not legally. Not maybe figuratively, but not legally. But I just don't know. So again, in an administration that doubles down on everything, and we've been saying this for so long, but there's got to be a point. I said this to my lovely wife this morning. We were watching TV, and I said, this would be the perfect time for Republicans in Congress who are scared. And if you do it for no other reason, I hope you would do that out of kind of goodness of your heart. But if you do it for no other reason than politics, the ones that think they're going to lose in November, this would be the time to break with Trump on this. Because the polls are clear. The mass majority of Americans thinks this is absolute bullshit and it's not making cities safer. And all the right wing channels and podcasts. I mean, even Joe Rogan came out and said they look like this combo. Theo Vaughn said who was all in on Trump. He said some negative stuff about the ICE stuff. This is one of those things. It kind of goes back to, do you remember? Of course you do. But I'm from Charlottesville. I live near Charlottesville when the whole Nazi rally happened and everything else. And there were wonderful people on both sides. And I remember whether you like Obama or not is immaterial. He came out and he made a statement. He said, there's never a bad time to say that Nazis are bad. Like, that's never politically damaging to you. Like, I mean, the only people you might lose are the Nazis, and we really, really hope that that's the super, super minority of the population. It's the same thing. We're at a time where this is really not popular with anyone, these ICE things. Not saying that I think some people are still hot and heavy about immigration and the 20 million people that crossed during Biden's administration, which is absolutely complete bullshit and makes no sense. But either way, yeah, I mean, if you think we should get illegal people out of here, fine, that's on you. But nobody likes this, except for Stephen Miller. Nobody likes the way this is happening. It would be
No,
an
it's gone
easy
beyond
time.
it's gone beyond what we all thought we would do, right? I mean,
Right.
I mean, I get it. If you want to work on the drug dealers, the crime lords, the people who come to the country who are doing business here illicitly, guess what? They didn't immigrate here anyways. They
No,
didn't go through proper channels. They'll
they're not
leave
here.
through the same back channels they got
Yeah.
in. You're not going to do anything to them, but okay, if just for a moment, let's believe you could do that. Okay, you might take a few gangs down. You might arrest a few folks who are bad. You have to explain to me how a nurse on the middle of a street with nothing showing arms, no access to something quickly he could even get. I mean, if you're at an event like that and your intention is to fire, you're either hand on holster or hand on gun. I mean, I know that for myself. You
Yes.
don't walk, if you have a gun and you walk into a crowd, you're going to keep your hand on it because you don't want somebody else grabbing it. It was a clear, the thing that it's not the fact they took him down. I get it. He was sort of jabbing at the cars and saying like, come at me. And he's got a video going. And, he was trying to get some footage. I get it. But it's the 7 to 10 shots. It's going to always be the struggle for me. That and the woman who got shot, it wasn't one gunshot. It was multiples. I've been to the firing range enough to know that firing multiple rounds, unless you have an equipped gun, isn't easy.
Mm-mm.
And your aim gets worse as they go, and your arm feels it. You sort of go off balance, right? And there's the one with I think it was Cook, like you said, he's holding the gun like this, right, pointed it out, right on the side. That is that's a Hollywood gunplay. That's not real. You don't really
Mm-mm.
fire a gun like that unless you watch a lot of TV.
No, because all law
you do
enforcement
this,
agencies teach you the double hand, not
because you want to keep control of the weapon.
right.
Which does have a kick, right? So if you can shoot 11 shots, one person, and I got to admit, it seemed like it was the tiniest guy in the group who did it. He got in there and then immediately fired all the shots at a man down on his face, on the floor, on the ground, on the parking asphalt.
With a phone in
Without
his
any
hand.
way, huh?
With a phone in his hand.
Yeah. This
You
is
can clearly see in the video.
I thought last shooting was going to be the turning point. Clearly, Minnesota's worked up. Minneapolis, they're upset.
Yeah.
Although I have to say, Tim Walz is going at this like, we've talked with the White House and they're not going to do it. They're like, well, I'm glad you're not the vice president, buddy, because you really aren't impressing me with what you could do. I would be raising holy hell if I was the governor of a state where shit like this was going.
Yeah, I feel like the mayor is actually what's Fry, whatever his name is. I think
he's being real.
Yeah, I mean, he's like, get the fuck out. I mean, and literally get the fuck out.
He said
And
that
then they
several
were
times, and then had to go on and sort of apologize for his potty mouth.
no. If you watch it, they ask him how he feels about that, and he's like, I said what I said. And it's like, Trump says fuck all the time, and everybody's like, well, it's just Trump. This mayor says get the fuck out of him, and they're like, do you feel like you need to walk that back? And it's like, if I were him, and I know he couldn't, but if I were him, I'd have been like, if he does, if Trump walks back all his cursing, I'll walk back mine. But it's just if you. Oh, I know what I was going to tell you. So again, my wife and I are in the hotel room yesterday, and when I'm flipping through channels, she's napping, I'm flipping through channels. When I come over CNN or whatever it is, and before anybody posts or anybody says CNN is biased, whatever, not my point. And I see the shooting. I see, the banner and everything. I'm like, oh shit. So I'm in a hotel room. So I go to CNN, I go to MSNBC, I go to or MS Go or the hell it's called now. I go to Fox News, and I'm bouncing back and forth between the three. It was interesting because CNN and CNN was like, this is what we've seen. This is the video. It looks like there's another officer or a federal officer involved shooting. We don't have all the details, but we're going to keep you up to date. Mesco was a little bit more. It looks like they jumped quicker to it. It looks like this guy was unarmed, which he was, and that's in his hands. That's another one. Fox was another domestic terrorist. And immediately jumped to that picture of a gun, which cracked me up because there were people on Facebook going, see, he had a gun. Like, it's a picture of a gun. That doesn't mean he has anything. That might have been
on
on
a
his.
seat with a USB cable.
Well, that might have been
Was
his.
that a
On his
rechargeable gun?
right. Yeah. And I was like, that might have been on his Facebook account. What does that mean? It doesn't mean it was there. But anyway, so we're watching. Then, as the afternoon unfolds, because I'm a British Premier League soccer fanatic, so I'm watching soccer. So I go back to when the match was over. I go back, and so now a lot more information is out. A lot more talking heads are flapping their gums and everything else. My wife and I are watching, and we go back to Fox, and they're showing the scene live, and they're talking about all their stuff about, this is fair and reasonable and whatever they were talking about. And then all of a sudden, and this was so, my wife and I laughed out of embarrassment. They're like, the commentator, don't know who she was, Fox News commentator, and she's like, and there's vehicles driving around in this area. I don't know if they should be doing that. These people, like assuming they were like like from the neighborhood and everything else, and they are clearly government SUVs, clearly. So like three of them, like same color, or sorry, two different colors, black and white. But this, I mean, like there was like
Nothing stands out more like a secret U.S. van.
right. Well, it was literally, and I'm not kidding. They're driving through the smoke, and there's literally 6 or 7 of them in a row. And she's going on and on about, I don't think it's necessarily a good idea that people are driving there and everything else. And then one comes around the corner, Jim, swear to God, I'll find the clip if I have to. They're driving. 3 of the 4 doors are open, and there are guys holding on, masks, obviously ICE agents, with automatic weapons driving around. And I looked at my wife and I'm like, that's the same shit you see in Afghanistan. That's the same shit you see in third world countries. And I'm not joking. I'm not trying to be, I'm serious. When you look at videos of Afghanistan or Iraq or Iran or Somalia, any of those places, you see the guys with the M16s or whatever they have, Kalashnikovs or whatever, hanging out of the windows or hanging out of the cars or whatever, driving down the road to keep the peace. And it was at that moment that the Fox lady said something along the lines of, okay, well, we're going to go to commercial. We'll be back. And it was like, yeah, because now whatever blathering you were going on about, why are people driving through the neighborhood?
Scrubbed already. It's gone.
Oh, of course. But there were 3 guys hanging out of doors, holding onto the shit handles with high-powered weapons, rolling through a neighborhood.
And
but
what
Fox
the hell is going on up there that place has got become the hotbed? Who knew there were so many immigrants from bad places had gone up there to cause so much trouble?
Evil Somalis.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? It's so crazy. So a friend of mine who's a friend of mine who's lost his mind. I love him to death, but he's gone way the fuck off the reservation he's fallen in love with conspiracy theories and truly believes that the blue half of the country are depraved, horrible human beings. And I think he still just talks to me because we have shared history and he feels sorry for me. But he was talking about something in the run up to the 2024 election, and I can't remember whoever Trump was vilifying at that time. And I'm like, well, gee, I thought it was MS-13. They were the right's favorite plaything in 2016. And he tried to pretend like, oh, I didn't know that. And I'm like, it was all over Fox News. He goes, well, you watch Fox News more than I do. I'm like, bullshit. I've watched maybe 5 hours of Fox News in the last 5 years because I get enough. I get enough on clips and everything else to know what they're talking about. Basically, so there's an old joke, and you're not married, Jim, but there's an old joke about Lifetime, the Lifetime channel, men bad, women good. Fox News, Republican bad, Democrat good. And I'm not saying that's not the same way, opposite with MSNBC, but Fox News is clearly Trump can do no wrong.
Yeah. Although even Fox has broken a bit from that. And I hate to say that because somebody's going to call me out on it, but I do think I've seen at least a couple times where there was some just potential of them being not in mind. There's just, they're part of why I just have not watched network news and now maybe, or even networks in general, probably 15 years. I started streaming a long time ago and getting my content where I could download it versus watch it live.
Mm-hmm.
That started because I couldn't handle advertisements. I can't handle the 6-minute interval of advertising that repeats that shows are so short, but my ADHD mind is already gone when that comes. And I've gone to something else and forgot about the show.
So you don't like the pharmaceutical commercials?
The things it's supposed to prevent, it may actually conduce the news.
Make worse. Yeah. Well, it's so funny because I'm going to go off on a tangent for half a second. Dawn and I, my wife and I were talking about this recently. We were watching, and I said, I think we're one of the only industrialized nations that allows pharmaceutical companies to do commercials. She said, I don't know. She goes, that can't be right. I looked it up. Literally, U.S., New Zealand, the only 2 countries in the world that allow pharmaceutical companies to advertise on TV.
And when you know how much TV ads cost, it does say a lot. I mean,
Oh,
your
yeah.
money for pharmaceuticals pay for a lot of good things.
Well,
Anyhow, off that
well,
and back to the,
right.
I have become recently a big fan of Keith Edwards. I'm not going to lie.
Mhm.
I like his sort of in the moment, down to earth approach. He's a little crazy at times too, but I think the side effect of doing anything and following politics and current events is to just get a little bit crazy, as you notice we've done it too. It just happens because your brain is sorting some crazy shit out. And then just to put some fast stuff out that, we're not programmed for this. We weren't built as a species for this continuous input, continuous feedback, continuous flip of information. We're not built for that as we are grown, right? Our brains maybe will handle it, but we can't. Right? Our bodies go weird on it.
It's funny you said that, and I don't know, and I'm not going to pretend that I do, but when did the term slow news day become prehistoric? Like, seriously, there was a time when you and I were growing up where there would be a slow news day. The Congress
Yeah, the
voted on such
news
and
was in
such a day.
print
This,
then, and we didn't get it on Facebook. It was
no,
kinda
no, 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 no. I mean,
nice.
yeah, but I mean, even after CNN and Fox and the 24-hour news cycle started, there were still slow news days where things happened, but it wasn't like breaking news, breaking news, breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. It was just, it was,
Everything's breaking news now.
right. It was like Congress met today.
And
They
even
talked about some stuff.
South
Look,
Park has played into this. They constantly
yes,
break into their own episodes saying breaking news,
no,
it's just something
no.
about Trump. Right? It's like it's become this play, but it's true. You're right. I don't know that I've ever seen a day where there isn't something always big being put in front of us that really maybe isn't that big. I
Right,
mean,
but I do.
yesterday we had our president make the statements out of Davos that, well, he's come to an agreement with Greenland or Iceland, whichever
You
one you
mean
want to
wait,
call
wait,
it.
wait? You mean the same exact agreement we've had since 1992,
Oh, I
but
don't know what
winning,
you're talking about. I don't know what
but
you're talking
winning.
about. Yeah, we're winning. Another war we solved. But he came to an agreement, and let's just try. If we have to go in force, we'll be the best. We'll overwhelm them. And I'm like, when did that become a normal? So like, once again, the new norms every day. This
Well,
man is. I mean, there's no way to deny this guy is failing. Recently, a doctor picked up his picture and said he's probably had a stroke back in Labor Day when he was
oh
gone
yeah,
home.
do you see the ones where
His
he's sitting there and
whole right
yeah,
side of his face is drooping. I've seen that. My mom had several strokes.
yeah.
I know what it looks like. And I remember when she went through the aphasia of one stroke, where words just didn't come together. She sounded a lot like Trump when she would talk. And she thought she was making sense. It was clear in her head.
Well, it's just, so I saw something interesting. I don't remember who said it. So whatever pundit said it, whatever person said it that I'm ripping off, I apologize for not giving you credit. I'm trying to give you credit, but I don't remember who you were because like you, I consume a lot of news, especially since we started doing this. I consume a lot more news than I've ever wanted to. But he was talking about how the right wing is past hypocrisy, and that's a symptom of fascism. What he said is, it's if I do it, if you do it, you need to be held accountable.
Well, I'm going to go ding, 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 and Chuck, you win the word today for fascism.
Yes, I do. You knew I was going to bring it up first. But no, but it's that same thing. So the same exact people who were screaming at the top of their lungs that the Democrats needed to invoke the 25th Amendment because Joe Biden had clearly lost it are very silent on what we see happening with Trump. He declines more and more every day. And they simply, well, he's swerving. Is it swerving? Is that what he calls it?
Wobbling. The
What is it?
wobble. It's the
Yeah,
wobble.
wobble. Thank you. He's wobbling. He's
You
wobbling.
know what
He
else
always,
wobbled? Weebles wobbled. And they didn't fall down.
but they don't fall down.
Thank you, Fisher Price.
For those of you under 30, look that shit up.
Thank you,
Anyway,
Fisher Price. We appreciate that in our heads.
but
Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down.
yeah, the same ones were screaming for Joe Biden to step down, and I didn't disagree with them. Please know that I did not disagree with them at all. So don't be calling me a leftist and saying,
I
no.
didn't want Biden to have a second term. I knew he was too old. I was like, let's get somebody fresh in there now.
I said it either last week or the week before, and I'll scream it from the rooftops, and I'll bring on 100 friends who will have heard me say it. I thought Biden should have dropped out a year before he did. I thought he shouldn't. When he said he was going to be a one-term president, he just needed to defeat Donald Trump. I took him at his word, and then as we watched him decline, I was just like, okay, dude, it's time for you to take a knee and get out. And he didn't. He held in, and I understand there's ego, and I understand there's pride, and all. I get all of that human emotion.
It's challenges folks get older. Watch it with my dad. I see it sometimes in myself. That as your age approaches, and you realize you're not that 30-year-old, that 40-year-old you were, but in your head, right, you're still vibrant. It's hard to step down from the things you used to do, right? The things you wanted to do.
Well, it's like everybody listening to this either has or probably will have to have that conversation with your parent about giving up their driver's license,
Oh God, that's a hard one.
because nobody wants to have that conversation. Nobody wants to take that freedom from another person, and nobody wants that freedom taken from them. Nobody, and I don't think it's so much freedom it is, but I think more of what it is you've alluded to, is that I now have to admit that I'm so old I can't drive.
So I'm going to give a little just anecdotal funniness in here. When I had to have that conversation with my dad, it was hard, right? I had to say, look, I think it's time to get rid of the car. It's time to get rid of the license. You shouldn't drive. He says, no, I'm fine. I says, okay, well, let's go out shopping. He says, okay. And I says, you drive. We literally get in the car, get to the exit of the home. He pulls out and almost kills us because he didn't see cars coming. And I'm like, so you still want to drive? He's like, I get it. He pulled over and handed me the keys.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, I understand as we age, we don't like to see ourselves that. We don't see it in the mirror. We're already in this body dysmorphic state anyways. We don't really get it. But our faculties do decline.
Absolutely.
Believe me, if you were even older than us, God forbid, you probably have a whole different experience because you have had to adapt the most, right? We've had to adapt a lot. We're the generation that picked up those first cell phones and learned how to use those things. And even when we sit here now and go, Jesus Christ, technology is a pain in the ass, right? I mean, I was just trying to get my freaking sound system to work the other day. And I'm like, why won't this one come on? And I go back, I didn't plug it in. Okay, well, there you go. But it's just that whole thing. Like, you get
Jim,
so much technology because you want to be a leader.
Jim, I'm not sure that was an age thing, brother.
Okay, thanks, buddy. I have learned to, where I used to be a perfectionist on some of that stuff for technology, I've learned to just say, it works good enough. I'm not going to worry about it.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm just messing. No, just you're like, yes. I would tell my wife the same thing. Not plugging it in, it might not be an age thing.
I didn't say what I didn't plug in, whether it was the Ethernet or the power or the.
Fair enough. Good point. Sorry,
I'd actually plugged the Ethernet cable into the wrong Ethernet port.
Maybe it's an age thing to assume. I don't know.
Yeah, it might be. I don't know. Anyway, so, obviously, you can see enough evidence, I'm sure, on both sides to say Trump is fine. And I must say that the Facebook socials boy, the pictures they put up with him, he looks strong and fit and healthy and nicely rose-colored. And, he's a champion, a hero for America. He's doing good things. And then you see the ones that show bruised hands, drooping face. And my favorite of all is still when he was at the oil summit, when he got up and looked out the window at the ballroom that wasn't there and said, this is a ballroom. It's the entrance of the ballroom. It looks great.
Oh, but no, Jim, you've got Trump derangement syndrome. He was wobbling. He was diverting attention away from an intense situation.
Hey, Chuck, I have a note to pass to you.
What's funny, I'll go here because Jim and I talked about it the other day. The one thing, and agree with me, disagree with me, whatever. But I can, if I had time, I'd put together a PowerPoint and bring the receipts. But Trump and his administration project everything they're going to do by saying Democrats do this. Kamala Harris is going to take your guns. Kamala Harris is going to have troops in the streets. Blah, blah, blah. Guess what? We're there. So, and the Republicans I don't know if it was when it was, 2016, 2017, 2018, doesn't matter. His first term, they came up with the idea of Trump derangement syndrome. And I think that is an amazingly apt descriptor. But it's not how they meant it. Because if you are in a situation where there are a large swath of people who will literally forgive any fucking thing you do, they have the Trump derangement syndrome. Look up the definition of deranged, first of all. But if you'll look at two men who were, what are they, 3 years apart? Like truly, like Biden and Trump, were they 3 years apart, 4 years apart? Yeah, you'll take two men over 75 who are 3 years apart and suggest that one who was acting like, stumbling over his words and acting like he wasn't sure where he was and all that kind of stuff, which again, I agree with, and suggest that person's senile and shouldn't be in charge of the country. And then look at the other guy who's doing the same shit and go, nah, nothing to see here. Solve
that war in Azerbaijan.
Well, yeah, Azerbaijan with the other country, which are like 900 miles apart or some shit. Yeah, I don't even, well, and say things like, we've got to keep our borders safe. Dude, Venezuela is not on our border. Look at a map. It is not on our border.
America's border.
Sorry, true.
Yeah, you're forgetting the right things here, Chuck. You're not keeping up with all that propaganda.
Right. Well, that's the other thing. It's the constantly and I read an article the other day, I don't remember who it was by, but basically they were saying that everything that Trump has been doing, the whole Greenland thing and the whole Venezuela thing, all of that is because he cannot stand the embarrassment of the fact that his name is in the Epstein files. They're over a month late on a law so they're not complying with the law. Here we go, Mr. We had a commenter who say, Article 2 allows Trump to do whatever. What is he hasn't done anything unconstitutional. I'm like, okay, well, posse comitatus, which is like from 1882 or whatever the hell it is, says you can't have troops in an American city as a police force unless there's a national emergency. And I don't give a damn who you are. If you want to really try to convince me that illegal immigrants in this country is
But he's declared a state of emergency already. That's the key. That was a very key thing that happened.
right. But I mean, what I'm saying, if you want to try to argue with me that people who have lived in this country for 10, 20, 30 years and are, just doing their thing is somehow denotes a state of emergency, then be prepared, folks. If a Democrat becomes president and they start declaring war on red states, I don't want to hear you cry. I don't want to hear you say shit. I'm going to say Second Amendment, or Article 2 rather. Article 2 gives him, he or she can do whatever the fuck they want. I don't want to hear you crying, because I know you will. That'd be the first thing. Well, they're doing this and they're against the Constitution. Article 2 does not make him king.
So, one thing I want to tell our listeners to think about this week as you listen to this is watch not only what goes on in the White House, but watch what's going on in your state. Watch who's in support of crazy ideas and who's not. Watch who's fighting the fight you want to be on and not. And I'm not putting either side out here as right or wrong. And I'm just going to say, when I hear Ted Cruz tell me that he thinks taking over Greenland's the right thing to do, I stand and I go, how do you know, Ted? What makes you think you have the right answer? And then I watch Governor Abbott chasing down our rainbow crosswalks like they're literally the gates of hell everywhere they exist. Mm-hmm. Yet here in Dallas, where they've been ordered to go away or they're going to lose funding, they're taking the rainbow ones out, but the other crosswalks near the colleges and universities are just fine, even though they're multicolored. So it's this whole, I don't know how we think we're going to do it, but there was another time in history when a group tried to erase a culture out of existence. And I can't imagine who that was or why it happened.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, I'm kind of Clink, and this is all I've got.
I know nothing. Yeah, I think
that was a rambling, but I just think my key message is please go out. Don't just get situated and fascinated by what's in the White House. You've got to look at your Senate, your Congress, your mayor, your local politics, because this is where it's starting, right? This stuff brews from the bottom up. This stuff got here because we let it get here in some ways, right? We have pushed this fringe minority aside for so long. They decided to get real loud and they found somebody to fight it for them.
Well, no, but it's also because Mitch McConnell engineered all this. And literally go back and look after Obama was elected. Mitch McConnell with others came up, and the Republican Party came up with the plan of starting inundating school boards and local government, and what their whole plan was, and they were brilliant. They did it. They beat us. It is what it is. But get that in, and then it's much easier at the top. And they did it, and the Democrats were caught sleeping at the switch, and here we are. But I mean, it's time, and I know everyone on the planet, or well, not everybody, I know a lot of people have said this, and I know we don't have millions of viewers, although I wish we did. It is time for this administration to take an L, realize that they shouldn't have gone. Here's what drives me crazy. When Trump was running and he was doing his stage show, and you saw people, mass deportations now, and now people are like, well, we didn't know he was going to do this. I'm like, what did you think a mass deportation was going to look like?
I thought it would happen in Massachusetts.
Did you think ICE was going to stand in the middle of a block with a bullhorn and go, okay, I need all the illegals to come out.
Aliens,
yeah, it's time for you to go. Yeah, it's time for you to go. I need you to comply. And then the really bad ones who are hiding, then we'll go find them. But the people who are just living their lives and are here on a misdemeanor, by the way, on a misdemeanor, come get in this truck. We're gonna lovingly take you to the border and release you like they do the baby penguins who've been raised in captivity. We're gonna release you off into the wild, and everything's gonna be beautiful. No, this is what you signed up for, folks. If you didn't take 5 extra seconds and think of what this might look like, I'm sorry, but it's on you. It's not on Donald Trump. It's on you, because he told you.
I think we'll have to find a time in an episode. I would love to talk about when the last time a true president was elected, because I have a theory that John Kennedy was our true last publicly chosen president. And from there forward, things went on to a program to bring us to today. CIA driven. No,
No,
this is
no,
a conspiracy.
no. I would like that episode. I would like that episode. That I hadn't thought about it that way. Yeah, I would love to do some research and really think about that. That would be
I've
fun.
done some good documentary hunting and some reading. There's things sometimes like this. I'm not a conspiracy guy, you know that, but I love dabbling in them just to see what
Oh
other people
yeah.
think. Because I think sometimes you get your most education by hearing what fringe thinking thinks, right? What's way out there.
Well, it kind of goes back to people are like, I don't like stereotypes. I don't like stereotypes, and I don't either because they're lazy. But there's always almost
There's a
every
hint of truth in there
stereotype.
somewhere.
There is a thread of truth in there, and it's the same thing with conspiracy theories. The only problem I have with conspiracy theories is what I said, what we talked about last time with your sister, which was there's never an end fact that stops the conversation. It's always like, oh, well, that's what they're telling you.
And we're still talking about Kennedy's assassination.
Right, or that's what they want you to think, or that they're hiding this or whatever. And whether that's true or not, I can't debate somebody, talk to somebody, have a reasonable conversation with somebody who can't come to a point where they go, yeah, I agree with that. I can't, if everything's going to be another, well, what about? Or they're not telling you that. Or, well, the CIA, I read this article on Reddit, Substack that said that the CIA, and I trust the guy because, he lived near Langley. It's like, if you can't get to that end, because I'm the first person, if you debate me and you make a better point than I do, I'll own it. I'll be like, you know what, you're right, good, we'll go with that. But if you can't do that, where are we? Anyway, sorry, got off on a tangent there again.
Well, no, it's good. I'm just kind of seeding some future topics beyond the current events, which overwhelm us anyways.
Right. Oh, I like that. I think we should.
Chuck, you're just basically suffering from President Trump's stress disorder. That's what it comes down to. I know that's what I have.
I think you're probably 100% correct. I know. I can't even argue that. And the sad thing is, Jim, I think we all are. I think even the people who still like him are fucking tired of every minute of every day being taken up with him.
So, there is a lot of psychology to the fact that if you wear people down and you
yeah.
flood them with information, you make it hard for them to focus, you're keeping them on high alert. So we've been on high alert now for the last 10 years. Let's be honest. At least,
absolutely.
Right? So 10 years of high alert. 10 years ago, we heard what would be happening right now at a campaign.
Oh, yeah.
It was won by a certain leader, would-be dictator. And here we are seeing every projection. And I think, Chuck, when you said that today, if there's nothing you take from this that more than to just listen to what's said, because it's usually going to tell you what's going to happen.
Right.
And so Donald Trump said he was a billionaire. Well, he is now. He made it happen. This presidency
he made conservatively made $1.4 billion off the presidency last year.
Yeah.
And again,
every president does it. It's okay.
Well,
I get it.
No, yeah. Well,
I know.
No. Last tangent. The same people who are okay with that were screaming that Joe Biden might have made $1 off his son for being president. And the Congress spent millions of dollars and a lot of hours for 3.5 years subpoenaing everybody on the planet and found zero evidence. And again, I don't give a rat's ass about Joe Biden, but gave zero evidence of that. And then as soon as he dropped out, magically they didn't care anymore and they stopped. But Trump has made $1.4 billion directly off the presidency.
His property issue was it White Rock or something like that, or what was the name of his?
Oh, White Rock.
Yeah. So they had their scandals. Democrats. They did things too.
Yeah, but they found.
I don't want to say that we're always picking on Republicans. No.
No.
Every other party has had these same scandals going.
Yeah. Well, look what
I love Ronnie Reagan to death, but the poor man, he went crazy and did shit that he shouldn't have done under Oliver North's suggestion.
Well, look at Hillary Clinton. They did Benghazi. They did 4 studies that cost the American taxpayer like $25 million to spend time. All this, and what they came up with was she didn't do anything right necessarily, but she sure as hell didn't do anything illegal. Maybe she fucked it up. But God help us. I don't want to be held accountable for everything I fucked up in my life. Not over and over and over again. But anyway, we should probably wrap up here, Jim. We're hitting that magic number.
Good time. So Chuck, why don't you leave our folks with something positive today? I think you might have a good way of putting this to a nice spin, because we want to do something that leaves a good influence.
And now here's your happy ending. So Jim, our happy ending today comes from Charlotte, North Carolina. There's a gentleman named Manolo Betancur, and if I mispronounced his name, sir, I apologize with all my heart. He's been in the U.S. for 25 years, and he came to school in Tennessee, became a citizen. He owns the oldest immigrant Latino bakery in the Carolinas. He's in Charlotte, North Carolina. He started a nonprofit called Raise You Up Ministries. And Jim, he has done something amazing. For the last 12 years, he bakes birthday cakes for homeless folks. He bakes birthday cakes and donates them. And when asked about it, he was quoted. He said, "We don't call them homeless; they're our neighbors." And I thought, with everything that's going on in the world, to have someone who came to this country for the right reasons, became a citizen, and to give back like that to homeless people, and there are homeless vets who are benefiting from that. I'll
Are the
bet
worst.
money on it.
Are the worst
Right.
carriers.
Right. I just think that's a beautiful way to end, that no matter what a shit show we're seeing right now, there is still a lot of beauty and a lot of love in this country. And I just wish stories like I just read you
We're top of the news.
were top of the news instead of what the orange man is doing now.
Yeah. So I think that the thing that I take that, and I appreciate you doing that, Chuck, because
Sure.
it makes me feel warm and fuzzy. As you know,
Yeah.
homelessness is big to me.
Yeah.
I'm on the Dallas Homelessness Commission here. I invite everyone to look for those moments too, because buried somewhere past the fold and past the middle of the paper, there will be, and on the internet interwebs, there will be something about these kind of happy moments, right?
Yeah.
So, my sister brought a lot of Zen in our last episode. We want to bring some moments too. Find your neighbors, talk to them. They probably are better people than you realize. I know that everybody I talk to that's scared of ICE is just scared. But, they're not looking to hurt anybody. None of us are. And I think finding that there is a gold nugget out there in the citizenry who does things for everyone is amazing, because we should all aspire to it.
I agree. And on that note, folks, we'll see you next week. Thanks for joining. Like, subscribe, share. Chuck
Give us some
Longerbeam.
feedback. Give us some comments. Tell us what you think.
Absolutely. I'm Chuck Longerbeam.
I'm Jim Hauk.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.